All right, breaking news. Charles Oliveira, du Bronx, the lightweight challenger to Islam Makhachev's throne. He's out of UFC 294. The fight that was scheduled for Abu Dhabi, yes, that is out the window right now. Charles Oliveira sustained a cut on the final day, his final spar before he flew off to Abu Dhabi. And that's it. A massive cut on the eyebrow, apparently. And yeah, he's had to withdraw from the fight. Of course, you can't compete like that. But yeah, I'm devastated. But good news is, Oliveira out, Alexander Volkanovski in.
Is Charles Oliveira out of his fight with Islam, and is Alex Volkanovski in?
Yes, all of that is true. He, round 5 of sparring last night before, he's supposed to jump on a plane today, splits his eyebrow wide open and had it stitched up last night. Obviously, can't fly out there with that, you know what I mean? It would be one thing, too, if they didn't call us, we would have had him go to a plastic surgeon that would have sewed it from the inside out, get that thing done the right way. These guys never call us like they should when something happens. They call us after they get it stitched up. But on the flip side, too, I could see him not wanting to risk it, getting a shot like this. And then, the Volkanovski crew, him and Israel, these guys are just absolute studs, man. He jumps in and he accepts the fight.
Great by name, great by nature. What a man Alexander Volkanovski is, okay? That is sensational. Talk about making the best out of a bad scenario. That's probably an even more compelling fight. Now, we're going to get to that in just a second. First of all, let's talk about the situation at hand with Charles Oliveira. So last night at the Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series, Dana White had the post-fight press conference. Great night of fights as always. And he broke the news. Now, I saw this on Twitter and I wasn't sure because it was from some accounts that I'm not sure. And then when I Googled the name Charles Oliveira, I never saw anything. But there at the press conference, Dana White confirmed it straight away. It was the first thing out of his mouth. Yes, Charles Oliveira sustained a massive cut on his eyebrow last day of sparring before he flew out, as I said earlier. And that's that. He said, listen, he went and got it stitched up. We would have liked to have handled it ourselves and maybe done some plastic surgery and stuff like that and maybe handle it in the best way possible to try and save the fight. But apparently the cut is so bad, it's just impossible. And if it is a bad cut, 2-3 weeks away, 2.5 weeks, yeah. Listen, you can't compete like that. You can compete with injuries, but a huge cut on the eye, that's going to be bad. It's going to open up straight away, and that's going to be it. Or maybe he even gets out there and the UFC pulling from the fight straight away. So yeah, Charles is out, and it's a disappointment for him, his whole team, everyone involved. We were all excited for it. But listen, right now, that's yesterday's news. Alexander Volkanovski, my God, what a guy this is. 2.5 weeks. He gets a phone call from Dana White. One phone call is all that it took. Not speak to my manager, speak to this guy, let's go through this, let's negotiate, let's get down to brass taxes, playing hardball and all the rest of it. He asked him, do you want to step in, fight Islam Makhachev in 2 weeks in Abu Dhabi, jump on a plane, fly to the other side of the world and fight up a weight class against Islam Makhachev, a man that just beat you in a very close fight back in February in Perth, Australia. Do you want to do that? What does he say? Bloody too right I do, mate. Can't do an Australian accent, but you got to respect this man. Listen, the pound for pound number one on the planet. Of course, they have fought before. February this year, as I said. Very, very close fight. Now, Joe Rogan came out just recently and said that when he watched the fight, he thought that Volkanovski actually won it. He did enough to win the decision. I was commentating that night, so I don't look at it through a lens of a judge. I just watch the fights and I call the action as I see. And I haven't watched it back, although I will do. The reality is, it was a close fight, a very, very close fight. And he's ready to just jump on a plane, as I said, fly to the other side of the world and take him on once again, okay? Alexander Volkanovski is just incredible. He really is. Great doesn't do him justice. That is just unreal. Now, let's talk about the implications because, of course, for Volkanovski, if he can do this, if he can pull it off, he becomes a 2-weight division champion, which is fantastic. Then some people might say, well, he's got nothing to lose because the reality is when you do step up from a lower weight class to a higher weight class, yeah, essentially you don't have anything to lose because if you lose, you're still the champion. You're just not a double champ. So as I say, you get the balls, you get the kudos, you get the respect from the fight community for stepping up and taking on somebody bigger. But if you lose, well, guess what? Everything's fine. That isn't necessarily the situation here. It's a little bit more complicated than that because Volkanovski truly believes that he can beat Islam Makhachev, and he wants to do that, and he wants to show the world, right? He wants to be a two-weight division champion. The danger here for Volkanovski is that if he does lose, and one has got to imagine, let's be honest, that Islam's going to be a huge favourite. Not only has he beaten him once, not only is he the bigger guy, but this is on 2.5 weeks' notice. Regardless of how professional Volkanovski is, because he's always training, the man's an athlete, he takes his job very, very seriously. Still, 2.5 weeks, that's not ideal. But the real risk is that if he loses to Islam twice in a row, then he ain't going to get another shot. That's the real risk here. That is what's at stake. Who is the better fighter? At the end of the day, forget about weight classes. They're kind of similar in weights anyway. 45 to 55, yes, it's a 10-pound jump, but still, they're the next weight classes. They're connected to one another. Who's the better fighter? If Islam wins, then it will go down in history that once and for all, Islam is the better man. And for Volkanovski, that's something that he takes very, very seriously. So that's what's at stake here. Pride, okay? Bragging rights, saying that I'm the man. I'm the guy. I'm the two-weight division champion. I beat you. Now, the reality is if Volkanovski pulls it off, which will be an absolute miracle. I'm not saying he can't do it because the first fight was very close. But under these conditions, as I said, jumping on a long flight to the other side of the world, not training specifically for him. Now, as we know, he did fight Islam Makhachev in February, so 8 months ago, and all the work, all the takedown defense, all the wrestling, all the jiu-jitsu, all the submission escapes, everything that he did, that will parlay into this. Every time you train, you get better. Every time you go through a training camp, you come out a better version of yourself, win or lose, regardless. So sometimes people think, if you go out there and you get beat in 33 seconds like Grant Dawson did against Bobby Green, some people say, what was the point? I might as well just not bother training. No, all the improvements that you made still make you a better fighter. You didn't get the decision that you wanted, but you still improved. And that's the case here with Volkanovski. As we know, he fought Yair Rodriguez in the summer at International Fight Week. He looked absolutely fantastic in that fight. He looked like the best version of himself ever against a very tough Yair Rodriguez. Got the job done, finished him with ground and pound, and he was coasting. Man, he was in control that entire time. And now he flies back to Abu Dhabi to go up against Islam Makhachev. What's he going to do differently this time? I think it will be a very similar fight. Volkanovski, is he going to be able to go 5 rounds at a hard pace? I say yes. The man's a professional. He's always in shape. He fights frequently. He fights regularly. He's never been one to gas. And the man is confident as hell. And he's been in there with Islam before. He's felt his strength. He knows his tendencies. He knows his takedowns. He's done a very, very long training camp the first time. So as I say, everything that the coaches went through, it's all kind of the same thing because it's only, as I said before, 8 months later. 8 months later. So all the respect in the world to Charles, to Alexander Volkanovski. And we've got to say respect to Islam Makhachev. Now, the backup fighter for this fight was Mateusz Gamrot. Okay, so I kind of feel for Mateusz Gamrot. The reality is the people in Abu Dhabi, they're partners with the UFC and they want to have a tremendous fight card. Mateusz is a ridiculously talented fighter, but I don't think he's the big needle mover that a Volkanovski is. He was the backup fighter, and if, heaven forbid, that Volkanovski or Islam doesn't make it to the fight, then Mateusz will get that shot. So, sit tight, brother. And I'm sure it's very frustrating for Mateusz Gamrot, but listen, this is the business that we're in. Volkanovski, Islam Makhachev, what do you think of that? Who do you think wins? Do you think Islam does it again? Do you think Volkanovski can cause one of the biggest upsets? I mean, we're yet to see the odds. And I just got to say, I have so much respect for Volkanovski, and I do for Islam as well, right? And this will be a ridiculous fight. And now this time is the exact opposite, right? Last time, Islam flew down to Australia into Volkanovski's backyard. Right? And now it's the exact reverse, okay? Volkanovski's flying into Abu Dhabi, okay? Kind of his backyard, as people have been calling it. So, in my mind, and this is no disrespect to Oliveira, I'm a little bit more excited for this one. I think this fight's going to be fantastic. The storyline is just ridiculous. And that's what captures your imagination. These insane storylines, these acts of bravery and courage from these fighters, what they do to step up last minute just like that against a guy that's already beaten him. And Islam Makhachev to say, yes, brother, let's go. I don't give a fuck. Fuck this guy. You know what I mean? It's great. I love this sport. The UFC they're the best. It's as simple as that. I don't give a fuck what you say. To be able to pull this off last minute is unreal. Now, Dana was saying that Charles Oliveira and his team, they kind of leaked the news a little bit early because somebody couldn't keep their fucking mouth shut, to quote Dana, because they wanted to tell the people, their partners in Abu Dhabi first, out of respect, of course. But as I said earlier, it has got leaked. I was sitting having a Thai meal with my wife and Lucas. And I'm sitting there and I'm just having a quick scroll through Twitter. And I see it and I think, nah, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. The trolls are out. Off they go. But no, it's true. The man has a massive cut on his eye. And you might be thinking, by the way, an all defense to Charles Oliveira. That is what we do. Right? When I fought George St. Pierre, I injured myself in the last sparring session. I tore all the cartilage on my ribs. I was in absolute agony. And looking back in hindsight, I shouldn't have done that. Okay, I shouldn't have taken that. I shouldn't have had that sparring match. I shouldn't. I was ready. I was in shape. But it's this, okay? You think if I do one more spar, if I push myself to the limit, if I just move around a bit more, I'm going to be even more prepared. But that is a sign of weakness. It really is. As Jason Perillo always says, it takes confidence to take a day off. Meaning, don't be lazy, but just knowing I'm ahead of the curve. I don't need to push it today. It also takes confidence to say, you know what? I'm good. I'm ready. I don't need to go through 5 rounds of sparring. I don't need multiple sparring partners to try and kick my ass so I can improve, get my cardio better, get my defense better, my subs, whatever it is, get every element of mixed martial arts to the next level. I don't need to do that because guess what? I am ready. Remember that one. It takes confidence to take a day off, or it takes confidence to sit and rest and know that I am good. Listen, Alexander Volkanovski, congrats to you. Islam Makhachev, massive respect to you. Condolences to Charles Oliveira, but everyone else at home, let's get ready. It's going to be one hell of a show. UFC 294 going down in Abu Dhabi. Alexander Volkanovski taking on Islam Makhachev. The rematch. Let's go.